The Marine Corps requires leaders of all ranks to have a deep understanding of war and the employment of force. MCDP 1 reminds Marines that the military profession is a thinking profession. Every Marine is expected to be a student of the art and science of war. It goes on to say that every Marine has an individual responsibility to study the profession of arms. Self-directed study in the art and science of war is at least equal in importance to maintaining physical condition and should receive at least equal time. The Marine Corps Association understands the critical importance of ensuring that Marines are as mentally ready for combat as they are physically ready. That is why we offer an entire page dedicated to wargaming on our website. We have recommendations for both tabletop board games as well as computer games. And for Marine Corps Association members, there is a discount code for war game design studios that you can find on the website. War games are a great way to immerse yourself in history and to put yourself in the shoes of the great leaders of history. Go beyond guided instruction and experience the thrill of wargaming. Check us out at mca-marines.org/decision-making-exercises/wargaming-2. That's mca-marines.org/decision-making-exercises/wargaming-2. Take your training to the next level. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, welcome to episode 160. This week, we have another installment of Semper Cinema, where we talk to our own director of MCA Films, co-host of the show, and real historian, William Treuting. William is here to discuss the release of his latest project, a documentary on the First Battle of Manassas, or Battle of Bull Run, depending on which side of the Mason-Dixon line you're on. We talk about the process behind making the film, its intended audience, what we can take away from doing battle studies, and why it's important to preserve these historic battlefields. You can catch the film on the MCA YouTube channel. Without further ado, here is episode 160. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your continued support. I am Vic. I'm here with Nancy.
Hi, everyone.
And we have a very distinguished guest on another installment of Semper Cinema, and the first installment of what I like to call the gratuitous, unashamed self-promotion.
Thanks for phrasing it like that.
Yeah, and so that sweet voice that you're hearing right now is our own William Treuting. Thank you so much for being here today, William.
Vic, it's lovely to be here.
It's been a long time.
Thanks for having me in the studio. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is really great.
The studio that is how many steps? 15 steps from your office?
Yeah, 15 steps, but an hour and a half drive. So
okay.
Yeah. No, this is really good. So, just a little background on why William is our distinguished guest today is that he is the director and sort of our, I guess, our lead on MCA Films, and he's the director of the Battle of First Manassas documentary that just hit 2 weeks ago.
I hit on the anniversary.
Yeah,
the full-length one on the 21st of July, 2024.
And it's been getting some good views. It's been getting some good comments. And so, yeah, we're here to talk to William about some of the process and some of his vision for MCA Films and sort of what was the genesis behind the Battle of First Manassas documentary series. And so I will pass the baton over to an actual journalist who will actually ask questions rather than just me opening my mouth and letting words tumble out like turds.
But that's always fun, too.
It is fun.
And we're going to have some of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, of course,
Awesome.
I have a microphone, so that is it's implied.
Somebody take the mic away from Vic. Okay, so this is cool. It's a cool thing that we can talk about. I mean, yes, it's shameless self-promotion, but it's worthy of being promoted. So it's great to be able to talk about it. And
yeah, we're doing so many good
celebrate
things.
It.
And, William's definitely championing some of that movement into the 21st century for us.
Slowly but surely.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What's the official title of this documentary?
So the title is essentially the name of the battle. The Battle of First Manassas is a 50-minute long film. So
If I can, really quick, because I have watched the movie.
okay.
There is a debate, though, depending on what side of the Mason-Dixon line you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Called,
So
right?
I defaulted generally to what the Battlefield Park is, just because I made this as an addition to staff rides. So it is the Manassas National Battlefield Park. To other people, north of the Mason-Dixon line, we refer to as the Battle of Bull Run. And I briefly talk about it in the film. Essentially, a lot of it is perspective. For instance, the Southerners viewed it as we're defending the Manassas Junction. The Northerners viewed it as we're crossing the Bull Run. So you see that happen a lot of times. And then, growing up in Virginia, I hear the names of battles one way, and then I realize, oh, there's actually different names for them.
Yeah.
Stone Rivers, Murfreesboro is another one of them. So it's just a matter of perspective.
Sharpsburg, Antietam.
Sharpsburg, Antietam, exactly. So
That's cool.
So, all right. Well, and for all of you, so you can watch the film, you go to the MCA's YouTube channel, and we've got the film broken down into 3 parts.
Three
correct?
parts, as well as the full feature length. So if you got 50 minutes available in your day, go and watch it. If you want to break up into sections based on time, then that works for you too.
Okay, so let's start with the Semper Cinema questions that we always ask. Your review of the film. So, William, this is your film. You need to review it for us.
Well, shit. Ask Vic. He's like,
this is a
I
press
can't remember.
junket.
Let me rephrase it for this situation. Give us a broad overview of what this is.
So, broad overview, what this is, it is primarily a tactical, strategic, operational analysis of the first battle. I kick it off with a brief introduction of the Civil War, how it starts, why it starts a little bit. Not getting too much into the weeds, but just to give you like a time and place. And then I talk about, strategically why Manassas itself was important, operationally how each army gets there and the maneuvering, and then tactically I try to break it down to the regimental level when it makes sense. What units moving where, what commanders moving in which direction, who's giving orders, and sort of on top of that, I do it in combination with war game footage and combined with footage from the actual battlefield, so that, for instance, if you can watch this film or even bring it with you on your phone to this battlefield, you'll be able to actually see, oh, okay, this is where this happened, this is where this unit was. And that's what I tried to do. I wanted to link the lines on the maps that people see in a lot of documentaries with the actual location itself.
And that's that the war game hexes, that's something that's very different from other documentaries about the same topic. That's one of the things that sets your project apart, wouldn't you say? I
would say, because lines on the map are especially from a head down perspective, they're helpful, but this one you see with war game software, you get to see, there's elevation differences. This is where the tree line would have been in position to here. And it just helps, I guess, when you're there, get a better view.
Who's the intended audience for this film?
So I didn't make this for everyone. I was telling everyone before we started recording that I watched this with my grandma and she fell asleep 3 times and I thought I killed her. So so this is some documentaries you see on this subject, they're made for a more general audience. They'll have a lot more quotes from soldiers or civilians and make it more holistic. You'll have reenactors. This is pretty much primarily for those interested in PME or from a more solid military history perspective. If you're interested in the tactics, you're interested in knowing how the battles actually fought, and it goes into pretty in-depth detail. If I wanted to, I could have made it a 2-hour documentary, but realizing that's pretty unfeasible, I tried to get a good tactical analysis.
Who do you think this is for, Vic?
Yeah, I think it's because it's one of the things when we were first exploring ways of diversifying our portfolio here was this sort of balance between like infotainment and then like hardcore history nerd, tactics nerd sort of stuff. And I think this does a very good job of merging the two. So I think it's really Obviously with our director here, I don't want to speak for who, he envisioned, but my thought as I was watching it was just how accessible it is to folks like myself who, Civil War time period is not my, my soup du jour on history stuff. I like, more the ancient Greeks and stuff like that, and maybe some of the Warring States periods in China. But this was very entertaining and also extremely informative. So I think just for
Absolutely.
sort of a novice Civil War person, I thought it was really good. And I'll comment for my wife. So we had, I talked to you, we went, I forget which battle it was. We went to a reenactment.
Oh, yeah, went to Cedar Creek, right?
Cedar Creek,
yeah.
right? A few months back. And obviously the scale is not the same. And so sometimes it's hard to really, even at a reenactment, get what was actually happening.
Sure.
How massive they were.
Right. Well, even some of the maneuvering, especially from a tactical standpoint, because you're watching and, you have like a dude who's kind of representing an entire company, or you have, a platoon size level of reenactors that are supposed to be representing like a battalion or regiment. They go down, count to 10, and then they have to get back into position because now the whole thing's moving. And so you don't get as you don't get that same kind of detail. You get obviously the overall what happened, but then watching this video, and even Roxanne even commented that like, oh wow, there was like so much more going on in these battles than like I remember seeing at this reenactment. It's like, yeah, I mean, and so that's what in having that war game design studio hexes there and that software to show, especially on what was it, the Hill.
Henry Hill or Matthews Hill.
Yeah, I mean, that was just the constant back and forth there. I thought that was really great.
So why did you choose this particular battle to start with?
Well, because we're the Marine Corps Association, so I was like, okay, if I want to do a documentary on a battle, I think the Marines should be there. And it's kind of interesting because the Marines' reputation is historically controversial because you have a lot of accounts saying the Marines, took one volley and ran away. But thanks to some other research, some articles and some books I've read, it's like actually, the Marines performed about as well as any other Union regiment they did at the Battle of Manassas. I mean, there were some regiments that broke before content even was initiated. There were some that they just kept going in repeatedly. So the Marines performed as admirably. And according to, I believe it was a letter or journal article written from a member of the 2nd Virginia who was on the Confederate side, noted that, of all the units that made it to our line, the ones who made it actually past our line was the Marines. So I wanted to, again, this isn't a Marine Corps documentary. It talks about the entire battle, but I wanted to pick something that would be fitting towards our audience. And also, another reason why I picked it was because it's close, and also because the entire battlefield itself is incredibly well preserved. So you don't have to worry about. I can go to any point in that battle, and it's not going to look exactly like there was. There's some tree lines that are different places. Obviously, the roads are a bit larger, and would be fields in some areas where there isn't. But otherwise, you get a pretty good idea of what it looked like. So you can actually go to the entire battlefield and see things as they were. So that's pretty much why I picked that as the topic.
Yeah, and as far as like the Marine Corps reputation, the aspect that you presented here that I thought was really interesting was the idea that the Marines that were there were not the hard as woodpecker lips guys that had seen combat.
Oh no, yeah.
Previous
I mean,
it's just pretty green.
The entire American military at that point had to be fleshed out from a skeleton force, and the Marines were just as green and vulnerable as other infantry units. But again, I mean, did they perform the best out of every regiment there? Absolutely not. There was, I mean, the 14th Brooklyn especially just went in repeatedly, so they get high laurels. But I mean, again, as according to this one letter, the dead soldiers from the Union Army that made it furthest into the Confederate lines was a United States Marine. So that has to say something about their fighting reputation.
Of course it does. I mean, unbiased.
Of course.
On our side, yeah.
And why should Marines watch this documentary? What can they get out of it? And what other things do we have in the MCA professional development offering that
Nice
supplement
tie-in.
this
Nice
and
tie-in.
tie into this?
Well, one, because Marines should I think, study every Marine Corps battle and understand the changing evolution of the Marine Corps, because this wasn't at the time, but the Marines were supposed to perform any such duty as authorized. And in this case, it's one of those instances where the Marine Corps almost had to go outside of its expertise because they were attached to the Army. They were in an Army. They were commanded by a brigade commander who was from the Army and serving with other Army regiments. And generally speaking, at this time in history, they performed a lot of ship duty, maybe some amphibious operations here and there, but this is they're attached to a land army. So Marines can learn from this experience in the sense that they're going to have to do whatever they're told whenever they're told, because that's what the Marines do. So that's why I think they should study. And on top of this, I mean, you get an idea of the importance of command and control. And also from one aspect of this battle is, the Union Army had a good plan. General McDowell had a great idea of trying to pin down the Confederate right and center and then move around their flank. Problem is, though, he had difficulty distilling command authority down. And that's why you see, like, once after they break initial contact with the enemy, with the Confederates, there's a lot of missed opportunities that happen. They didn't have a maneuverist approach. It was very where, we have the enemy's flank, let's go around it, or hey, we push the enemy back, let's keep pursuing. It was very top central. And then when that happened, when they try to pursue the Confederates further on Henry Hill, you see, a couple of regiments from different brigades would then try to take the hill. There wasn't a concerted effort at any point. So understanding the importance of command and control is something that I think would be helpful to all Marines.
Vic, why do you think, what can a Marine get out of this? And again, what are the supplemental products that MCA has to offer?
Well, I mean, if you want to like really dive deep in it, there's references to it at the end of the video with links. But I mean, our battle study package on on the first Battle of Manassas within our battle study package's portfolio, it's extensive. And so there's a bunch of stuff. There's podcasts, there's maps, there's books, there's references, articles, and now this tremendous video. But one of the things that really stood out to me, I guess to echo what William's saying, was how plans, there's that old adage, right? Like, no plan survives first contact. But when you look at it, up until the point where it does meet contact, the plans from the Union side in particular are pretty good. There's also, things about, you could take away as far as like movement techniques, the needing for having observation posts that have clear lines of sight. I'm thinking about, I forget who the commander was, but that made that really long march to try to come down and flank while they were being fixed by the other two sides. And then just happened that on Signal Hill, the guy happens to just catch some of the sun reflecting off of the muskets and the artillery pieces, and then he is able to then signal that, hey, you're being turned.
And going back into it, also, we see instances of poor initiative and command and control from the Union side, but surprisingly, the Confederate commanders, they acted with a lot of initiative. Yeah. I mean, he saw that Evans at the Stone Bridge saw that his flank was being turned. He just rushes there and he's like, I just need to buy as much time. I know this is the situation now. There's a significant force coming behind me. And then you see that with Colonel B comes up. He's like, okay, we could hold here, but if we push forward, we can support Evans and try to buy some more times. And then Jackson comes up, holds Henry Hill, because he was a former artillery officer, so he knows perfect artillery employment. And then again, he's doing the same thing, just buying enough time to then concentrate your forces to push it back. So you see almost at this instance, like we're Union commanders almost are afraid to advance and take the initiative. Confederates have to almost rely on initiative to even just keep their head above water.
Yeah. So just thinking about all of the times that, when you're planning your movement, mm-hmm. all of the things you need to do for, visual obscuration, camouflage, the time that you're going to make your movement, when you're going to be approaching the enemy, the idea that, we'll just leave super early in the morning. Not a bad idea. You let your guys get some rest. You're going to have a long road march, all these things, but then you're going to be approaching the enemy as the sun is coming up. So what does that mean? Well, if I got anything shiny, I better dull it down, or I better not be making my approach in the middle of an open field, how can I stick to the tree line? Or maybe we just make the movement at night. So that way, when they wake up in the morning, we're there and we don't have to necessarily worry about these sorts of things. So just that level of detail and planning, I think, is things that we can all, is, whatever on a profession of arms is,
Continue to keep learning.
the
from
art
things.
beyond the science, right? Like,
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are considerations you need to think about as you're making your plan.
And back to the battle study packages as a whole, you can use as much or as little of them. They're designed that way, right? You want to talk? Can you talk
Exactly.
about that a little bit?
Well,
as
And you don't actually have
as the
to
curator.
as the curator. So essentially, what we do is we provide a brief analysis: who, what, when, where, why. Then we offer articles if they're available from Leatherneck Gazette. We'll have links to them there. We have some recommended podcasts, recommended YouTube, recommended books as well. And then if there's like a staff ride for it or a study guide for it available, we'll post that. And the idea is like if you're an officer about to conduct a staff ride, or if you're about to write a paper, or if you're just studying this particular battle, we give you essentially all you need for a crash course at different intellectual levels, whether it's just like a simple 20-minute YouTube video or an entire the most authoritative book on the topic. So it allows you to tape your learning based on your needs, but we give you all the resources from just very cursory study of the battle to really in depth.
And where can people find these?
They are available on the if you go on the professional development side of the Marine Corps Association website. They're under battle study packages, and you can pick one by region.
Okay, so and give us a website.
Give us the website. The website will be in the link in the description of the episode.
But for those who are, it's mca-marines.org.
Right.
And then just hit the professional development tab there at the top, and you'll see the drop down.
How does this work? We talked about this a little bit, how it's different. How does this compare to other similar documentaries out there?
For instance, if you go to the National Park Service and watch their documentary, theirs is very human focused. They'll give you individual people, real people, individuals, and they'll kind of tell the story from their experiences, what they saw, what they witnessed, and they'll do a little bit of a tactical analysis, not too in depth at all. And their idea is that they're appealing to a broader audience. These are people coming to the Park Service who may know nothing about the Civil War, nothing about Manassas, nothing about even military in general. So that's what their audience for is very, very broad visitors. There's other ones that kind of do a mix of that. We'll have some reenactors, and then they'll do some lines on the map. So what mine does different though is I want the lines on the map to actually to see where the lines on the maps are. You'd actually go there and be like, okay, well here's where the 4th Alabama was. Well then, camera shot, battlefield. Sure. Here's what they would have seen, or here's where, the Louisiana Battalion charge. Okay, go there, get the shot there, and just so that, again, someone watching this film can already have an idea of where stuff is, and that's what I wanted to do different.
What kind of feedback are you getting so far? Besides from your grandmother, and we're gonna not count her feedback.
She's almost the first casualty of the documentary. Of the
or the last casualty of the Battle of First Manassas. Luckily, she's still alive for now. We'll see. But I mean, feedback
This
has been
went very dark very quickly.
yeah. Feedback has been generally good. People I think are buying into the fact that you get to, again, as I mentioned previously, repeatedly, you get to see where stuff happened as it is today, and then compare it with the lines on the map, and also you get an in-depth analysis of really how chaotic it is. I mean, we like to see these lines on the map, but really, reality, I mean, Vic has been in combat himself. Lines are fluid. People are not going to stand at this particular spot. If it makes sense to move 20 feet further than the line on the map says, they would have done that. And obviously, if you're taking fire, you might withdraw a few. And I try to really show this back and forth motion and using the War Game Design Studio. Shout out to War Game Design Studio. Using their software to show just try to show how fluid it is as possible. That it isn't just, two lines butting up against each other, that it's really like a lot of back and forth, and maybe one part of the line holds firm, but then the other part pulls back 100 yards or so. I wanted to show the fluidity of it.
Yeah, and then I thought it was really interesting too how, and again, I'm really awful with names and stuff, but the artillery pieces that were used by both the Union and Confederate sides, like multiple times, as they were like taking positions and then losing the position.
Yeah, it's almost
there were
like
like three
capture the guns
that like killed probably as many Union soldiers as they killed Confederate soldiers.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, because the artillerists ran away. That's why the guns stay there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, it was it was capture the flag almost.
It really was.
Okay, this is for you, Vic. Perfect world, unlimited budget, unlimited resources. What battle do you want William to make a documentary about next?
Oh, snap. That's a great question.
I just thought of it.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Unlimited and no
Yeah.
geographic restrictions.
Yeah, just dream. What do you want to see a film about?
There's so many. This decision fatigue. Well, I mean, I guess I said it, Thermopylae is classic. What? Drawing a blank. They put me on the spot. But Alexander's crossing into India. I forget what the river is there, where he used the. Yeah. Yeah, those are the two that stick out of my mind.
And as long as you get to go along and be sort of a production assistant, right?
Well, if I get to go along, then
Yeah,
I mean, where did we fight in Cancun? Maybe Puerto Vallarta.
I mean, the Mexican-American War. There's, I mean,
Veracruz.
yeah.
Yeah, but those are the two that stick out of my mind just because of what. Oh, maybe Hannibal's march to Rome would be.
Well, that'd
That would
be
be
pretty
cool.
interesting.
Sweet.
That'd be
Then
cool.
we could go from North Africa through Spain and then down into Italy. Well, that's not a bad little
I'll meet you guys in
staff
Italy.
ride there.
That'd be kind of cool.
Well, and then and not to nerd out too much, but like I've heard historians say that single moment where Rome turned it and then was the beginning. Like, had it not been for Hannibal, Rome may have just stayed as this like small sort of Southern European military clan, essentially. But because when they followed Hannibal to finally like kick him out, they went through all of those same areas, and then in north, and like, hey, all of a sudden we own all these trade routes in the Mediterranean. Like, guess what we can do now?
Cool.
Yeah. So that's obviously a world changing campaign.
We need to get those on the wish list for
Oh,
maybe
man.
for 2025.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
real.
we'll also get on the budget.
What would you like?
That's what-
I'll put that on
and
you.
that's next
If
question.
you
here.
had
Perfect
all
world.
of those things,
Okay.
what would you want to do?
That's a difficult one.
Oh, you had to know this question was coming. You had
Yeah.
all 30 seconds to prepare for it.
That's a good. I'm leaning right now towards I'd like to do two, so I'm not even going to just say one. I'd like to do a documentary on the 1862 Shenandoah Valley campaign and then do a comparison one with the 1864 Shenandoah Valley campaign. There's a lot of good battlefields out there. A lot of them are really well preserved. Some of them are lesser known than others. And you get to do a comparison in the changing character of war over the course of 2 years and talk about some really interesting tactics, a lot of maneuver warfare doctrine. Some of the articles that even appear in the Gazette talked about the 62 Valley campaign, and then the 64 Valley campaign. You can talk about the good integration of infantry and cavalry, almost fighting coordinated, which really didn't happen much in the Civil War until the latter half of it. So those would be pretty fun. Now I've had like big budget. Be kind of cool to be like the first documentary on the Battle of I'm blanking on the name. The Battle of Chosin Reservoir, being the first American to go in there.
That would be tight.
And go into all the positions because we could hit up Miles Vining. Miles Vining, if you're listening. We could get him because he's done expert research on it in preparation for the film he did with the Chinese there, and we can go to like all the spots and then get footage. I imagine not much has changed there in 60.
But Civil War is your wheelhouse, right? That's like that's your.
If I were to do one on Chosin, I would need to do a lot of reading and research. I would come in with basically the few films I've seen. I've read pretty comprehensively on the American Civil War, where I could I would need to dust off a few books, but I could comprehensively read a script and
Yeah.
go to the location.
But these other ones, you'd have to do a research.
Yeah, for Chosen, I would have to do a lot of. I would probably take 2 or 3 years of research just to even start the script.
Wow. Yeah. So what was that process then? So when we were coming up with this, and we did the table slap, was it like you said? Like I've already got a ton. I mean, you're
I had a lot
you're
in the
GMU guy, so I mean, you're sort of
Yeah, I had a lot in the wheelhouse already. So what I did was I pretty much I dusted off a few of the historically or in the historical community known as like the key works on it. I read some other accounts maybe for other commanders or regiments specifically, just so I could maybe, especially for the Marines, I wanted to make sure that I did the Marine Corps justice. And then
what was that timeline like? How long did that take?
Probably I did it as I was writing the script and as I was starting the film. So I mean probably about half a year or so, and then I watched other films as well and just say, okay, what have they done? And then it was interesting because the more reading it was like, oh, this documentary actually got this stuff wrong. I got to make sure I get this right. Things like that.
And you did coordinate with the National Park Service too, so that was also an interesting component, right?
Yeah, I had to get a permit, and I don't actually know if I actually needed the permit because it was weird. It's like, who's your talent? I'm like, we're gonna have no talent.
Like you're looking at them.
It's like how many vehicles? Like I mean, my truck. Like it's like what equipment you're gonna have? My iPhone. Like I 100% probably did not need to get a permit, but I wanted permission anyways.
Very cool. So you gave us your wish list. What your dream
Chosen would be tight. That's a good
project. What's the actual next project? Is there anything in the works?
So we may or may not. There has been no signed contract or slapping the table is for some reason Vic likes to do that to make decisions. But
I thought I'm a table slapper.
You're a table slapper. But we have some work.
Aggressive.
I've started preliminary work on the John Brown's Raid at Harper's Ferry, where the Marines were, and that's actually be great because we're gonna have footage and other information and details provided from the Marine Corps Historical Company.
Yeah, shout out to them.
So we don't have any estimated time frame whatsoever, but I look forward to this project. I've already gone through a lot of the footage, and I think it's going to be 100% different than the previous one, just because of the nature of that. It's hard to, with the War Game Design Studio software, the hexes are 100 yards. John Brown's Harper Ferry, the hexes would have to be like feet, to individuals. I mean, if you've been to the engine house there at Harper's Ferry, it's tiny. So I'm going to have to go about it in a much different way, but I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah.
How long was the process? Like from idea to final edits, was that about a year?
It took about a year, but I mean part of it is because it was myself and then the editor Ty Frazier. Ty, you're awesome. Thanks for all your help and assistance.
Truly.
One of the unsung heroes, but
as they cut up this podcast,
we were doing this part time in addition to all of our other duties with the Marine Corps Association. So with if this were to be like a considered effort, it would not take as long as it did. But I was happy to work on it for as long as it needed to. So it took about I think around a year though.
So
awesome.
Cool.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what comes next.
Me too.
Yeah, and folks, if you're listening, please hit us up, Scuttlebutt at mca-marines.org. And if you've got some ideas on or things you would like to see us unpack for you, that's going to go beyond the national, sort of the rudimentary infotainment stuff. Let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
And go watch the film.
For sure.
And MCA members, go check out those battle study packages on our website.
Hell yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, it was.
I really appreciate you giving us some time.
It was an honor.
Yeah, this is really great. Maybe we'll get you back on sometime.
Yeah, maybe sometime.
All right, everybody, thank you. A common axiom is that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Another axiom is that we sweat in peace so that we don't bleed in war. Here at the Marine Corps Association, we fully understand both. That is why we offer through our professional development page on our website a comprehensive catalog of battle studies, tactical and ethical decision games, and war games to ensure that not only do we learn from the past, but we embrace the thoughts and decisions that influence the outcomes of some of the greatest actions of the Marine Corps. We have tools and techniques that will enhance both unit training as well as enable comprehensive self-study. Check out all that the Marine Corps Association has to offer on our website. Go to mca-marines.org/professional development. That's mca-marines.org/professional development and get your reps and sets in. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Treuting, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.